Welcome everybody to today's stream. I hope everyone's having a good day. Today is a basic onboarding stream where we're going to discuss best practice on setting up your Ledger device, as well as at the end of the stream, we will be having a period where or I answer any questions you guys may have. We do have some mods from the Ledger team that will be addressing your guys' questions during the stream. I see that there's a few people coming in. I'll just give you guys a few more minutes. I hope everyone's having a good day. Good morning, everybody. And yeah, we'll get started here shortly. For today's stream, we will be doing the Nano X. Obviously, we also have the Nano S. Let me get the Nano S. I have a special collab edition, right? In terms of functionality, these are going to be very similar, and I'll address that here shortly. But yeah, we'll start the stream in the next few minutes, and we'll have a great one. Cool, we have Brady in the chat. Let's see, we have people popping in. And then if you guys have any questions, feel free to type it in the chat, and a mod will be able to address your guys' question, all right? Cool. Give it a moment here and I'll get started. Hello, hello. How are you doing? Cool, so we have some questions coming in. That's great. Marshall, is there any way we can stop address poisoning? Unfortunately, it's not possible just because your address is public on the blockchain. So you're always going to be a target. It's just best practice to understand what address poisoning is and how you can stop yourself from interacting with those scams, right? So it's not possible that you can stop it, unfortunately, though. But yeah, let's just get right into it. Yeah, so of course we're doing the Nano X. Before I get into the setup process, I just want to discuss a few things. For those of you guys who are new to Ledger or someone who's been around in the crypto space, right? It's very important to understand the concept of not your keys, not your crypto. The reason why that saying is really prevalent and you hear it a lot in the crypto space is because it's really true, right? There's been recent events over the past year that maybe you guys have heard about on the news, right? Such as Celsius, such as FTX. These are exchanges. These are big players in the space that have basically been underwater due to certain circumstances. It's very important. That leads me to my next point, which is self-custody. It's very important to understand what self-custody is, right, guys? Self-custody basically means that you hold your private keys, right? You're 100% responsible for your assets, right? Whenever you have your assets on an exchange, the exchange holds your private keys, right? What that means is if anything happens to the exchange, like I mentioned with the two events, FTX and Celsius, right? If anything happens to the exchange due to whatever reasons, such as financials, something that has to do with financials, right? And the exchange goes underwater, you can be out of luck. And that's probably the reason why you invested in a Ledger or thinking about investing in a Ledger, right? It's because you want to protect your assets, right? That's the whole reason why anyone would buy a Ledger, right? Is to protect your assets, keep your assets on cold storage, meaning that no exchange, no online software holds those private keys, only you do, right? And that leads me to the Nano X. This is our top dog device as of right now. Let me just show you guys. I'll take it out. Let me change the angle, right? So with the Nano X, it is going to be very similar to the Nano S Plus. They're going to derive the same security, right? The point of a ledger is you generate the recovery phrase offline and the private keys are stored on this device, right? What that means is it cannot be extracted from this device and the private keys are never going to be shown on this device, right? It's top level protection. And let me show you guys the next important thing that comes with the box is a recovery phrase. Okay, so I talked about private keys. I talked about how the exchange holds your private keys. Well, with a ledger, let me find this sheet. Okay, so with a ledger, you're going to get this sheet. This is a recovery sheet. This is where you're going to write down your 24-word recovery phrase. This sheet is very important, right? The reason why this sheet is very important is because the 24-word recovery phrase you generate on this device, you're going to write down only on this piece of paper, right? The only time you should ever put it anywhere else is on a physical storage. You don't want to take a picture of it. You don't want to do what I'm doing right now, live streaming. You don't want to video record. You don't want to store it on an encrypted server online somewhere where you think it's safe, right? The best storage is physical storage, where it's not exposed to any vectors of attacks as far as internet, as far as viruses, right? It's basically not exposed to anywhere other than basically you don't want it to expose it anywhere other than the sheet of paper, right? So the reason why it's important is because all your assets, all your crypto, NFTs, coins, tokens, they lie on the blockchain, right? And basically what your recovery phrase does is it validates you're the owner, right? It gives you the private key, and the private key validates you're the owner to those funds. And with that private key allows you to access those funds, right? So if anything ever happened to your ledger, as long as you have your 24-word recovery phrase, you will be able to access your funds, right? Using maybe a software wallet. Best practice is, of course, getting another ledger device, right? So your recovery phrase is never exposed to the internet, right? So in terms of the unboxing, it's going to come with this welcome. It's going to come with this recovery phrase sheet. It's going to come with 3 of them actually. And then obviously cable. With the Nano X, it is Bluetooth compatible, meaning that you don't need to plug this in. However, obviously if it's dead, I think this device is dead. Let's see. It's a new device, right? So if the device is dead, you guys can see here it's not turning on just because it's dead, right? So you'll have to charge it for a little bit. And best practice is to charge it to a wall outlet, as your computer could give a weak charge, which means that it's going to take a while for you to charge up the device, okay? You're also going to get a keychain. This keychain right here, you can just attach your device. It's just a nice little accessory, I guess. Okay, so got that out the way. Now let's go to the device setup. And I see we have some questions. What's up, Mike Mean? What's up? See, we have some viewers from last week's stream coming back. That's always a good sign. Cool. And I'm gonna put this away real quick and then we'll just get started with the setup. I see we have a few questions. And yeah, those questions will be getting addressed. All right, so now moving on to the device setup. Like I mentioned, right, the device is gonna come with a cable to charge. And this device isn't turning on, right? So obviously that means that we need to plug it in. Okay. Let me wrap this around so you guys can see it better. Boom. All right. So pretty standard. You're going to get welcome to Ledger Nano X. Just going to tell you what to do. Welcome. Download, use buttons, open to continue, set up his Ledger device, restore from recovery phrase. All right. So once again, like I mentioned earlier, your recovery phrase is very important, right? So when you first get your Ledger device, if you're not getting this option, feel free to factory reset your device or reach out to us, right? It's very important that when you first get your Ledger, you always see these 2 options right here. The lighting, okay, restore from recovery phrase and set up as new device, okay? Obviously, you want to do set up as new device. If you're doing restore from recovery phrase, this basically means that you're using a recovery phrase from an existing ledger and importing that recovery phrase to the new ledger, right? So if you're a new user, you would use this option, right? Set up as new device, choose pin. This is local. Basically what this means is if you ever lost your pin, it's all good. If you put in your pin wrong 3 times, it'll automatically reset the device. Essentially what that is called is a factory reset. That wipe the device clean, and you can do the option before that I showed you guys, restore from recovery phrase, and be able to restore all your accounts again, right? Keep in mind that Ledger does not store any private information, so it's very important that you guys understand that once you generate your recovery phrase and set up your PIN, this is the only time you're ever going to see your recovery phrase. One time is on the device, right? After that, you'll never be able to see it again. So if anything happened to your Ledger device and you lost your recovery phrase, there would be no way for us to help you recover your funds. Okay, so very important. In terms of button functionality, this is going to be the right button. This is going to be the left button. Let me turn off this to see if it's better lighting. Okay. See if that's better lighting. Okay, so I'm just putting in the pin. I'm just going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. Just so it's easier for you guys. Make the stream a little quicker in terms of setting up the device. Write down your recovery phrase, okay? So this step's pretty self-explanatory, like I mentioned earlier. You want to only write it down on this recovery phrase sheet, okay? And let me get that again. You only want to write it down on the sheet, like I mentioned before. The reason why you only want to write it down on the sheet is because it's the best protection, right? It's keeping your assets, or it's keeping your recovery phrase offline. Whenever you write it down on a computer, your recovery phrase is exposed to the internet already, right? Whether you believe that your computer is 100% virus free or whatever the case may be, the best practice is always to write it down on this piece of paper. Writing down on this piece of paper and storing it here is tried and true. People that write it down on this piece of paper and only have physical storage have been able to keep their assets safe over the years. Like I mentioned, with physical storage and physical backup, we also have, I'm not going to go too in depth into it, but we do have physical backup options such as this Build Funnel, CryptoTac Zeus. Basically, these are metal plates where you can store your recovery phrase on, basically in case of a fire or, God forbid, any accidents that happen within your household. Nothing's going to happen. Obviously, this piece of paper is pretty high quality, right? It's not flimsy, it's pretty thick. But obviously fire is not gonna, or this paper is not gonna be, let me change here so you guys can see, right? This paper isn't gonna be able to withstand fire or water, right? So there's that. You guys can check out the backup physical storage on our website, okay? Now let's get back into the recovery phrase. So like I said, we're gonna write down a recovery phrase and we're only gonna write it down on this piece of paper, okay? Obviously, when I write it down, this recovery phrase is exposed to the internet, so don't use it, okay? Okay, so press both buttons to continue. And now let's turn on the lighting again. Okay, so first word is copper. As far as the words go, right, these words are going to be random generated. And you can have the same word twice, okay, guys? You can have the same word twice. It actually makes your 24 set of recovery phrase very unique. Let's just get going, and then as soon as I get done with this, I'll check if there's any questions that have not been addressed yet. All right. And make sure you guys write these words vertically. Usually, right, we're known to writing it left to right, but make sure you write it vertically. And for those who have already set up your Ledger device, we do have a recovery phrase check app in the Ledger Live my Ledger tab. And basically, what that app does is it verifies that the recovery phrase you wrote down is the one that is associated with your Ledger, right? So it's just a good peace of mind to allow you to double check. Perfect. Home. Down. On. Okay. Fine. Follow. And this pen is kind of giving out, so the words are kind of faded. I strongly suggest when you guys do it, you guys don't use the same pen as me because it is faded for sure. Hit ritual. Ritual. Flip. Budget. And it's giving out sorry this right here. 18 is budget. Just a piece of paper. That and paper. Part. Okay, cool. So we have finally wrote down a recovery phrase. Now what we can do is we can verify. If you guys want to go back, of course, you guys can click the left button right here. It's going to be the button next to the USB charger. And if you want to continue, all you're going to do is press both buttons, okay? So press both buttons, confirm your recovery phrase. First word, let's go through it real quickly. And this is, like I mentioned, this is probably the most important step out of the whole process, is because you want to write it down. You want to write down your recovery phrase correctly, and also you want to store it correctly, right? Those are the two best practice in terms of keeping your assets safe, right? As long as you keep it offline, you guys are gonna be good, okay? And Ledger does not, or Ledger will never ask you for your recovery phrase, right? So be careful of scams out there. I'll actually take a minute here shortly to show you guys some scams that target your recovery phrase. If you're new to the space, you're going to get targeted a lot, especially if you're on Twitter. And I want to make sure you guys keep your assets safe and understand best practice. Okay, so let me just get through this. 9 is going to be 1. Outer. And 15, climb. 14. Follow. 15 is hit. 16 is ritual. 17 is flip. 18 is budget. Flip, budget. Okay, so then flow, paper. Boom, okay. Now it says your recovery phrase is set. Keep it in a secure place. Yeah, that's basically it in terms of setting up and getting your recovery phrase. Write it down correctly, store it correctly, and you guys are going to be good. Obviously, if lost, stolen, there's nothing we can do, as Ledger does not store any private information. Okay. Never share with anyone. Ledger will never ask for it. And boom, press both buttons to continue. Now it's processing. Okay. If you guys have any questions, feel free to leave it in the chat. Feel free to leave it in the chat. And now go to the dashboard. Okay. So now we have set up our Ledger device. It's going to look pretty standard. Install apps, control center. Okay. Pretty standard there. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to download our Ledger Live native software. Okay, guys. What the Ledger Live native software does is it's going to allow you to visualize your assets and manage your assets directly in one software, right? It's built into one. There's a lot of features, and I'll show you guys how to download that safely, okay? So let's head over to Chrome, and we are just going to go directly to ledger.com, right? When you guys are on ledger.com, you guys are going to want to go to apps and services, Ledger Live, okay? This is the only. You should always type the URL at the top. You never want to search up Ledger Live software online. You might run into a phishing scheme, okay? You just want to download directly on Ledger or ledger.com, okay? So Ledger Live, you're going to want to go to here, download that. It's going to be very dependent on your operating system, okay? So depending on if you have a Mac Windows, whatever the case may be, Linux, you're going to click corresponding to your operating system, okay? Download it. As soon as you download it, you are going to get, boom, Ledger Live, pretty standard. It should look like this, and you're gonna want to go to get started. You want to make sure your device is plugged in, okay, guys? You want to make sure it's plugged in and unlocked. And you're gonna want to go to get started. Nano X, okay. You're gonna want to go to Nano X, select because that is the device we're doing today. And I see we do have questions coming in. Mod will be able to address your guys' questions shortly. If they're not able to, I'll definitely be able to address your guys' question, okay? Here in a minute. So we already set up a recovery phrase, so we're gonna click this option. And this option, basically what this does is it's gonna do a genuine check. This is gonna check if your device is 100% legit and the firmware, secure element, everything within the device has not been tampered with. So you wanna make sure when you get your Ledger, you wanna go through this process, okay? Check my Nano. And it's gonna ask you to allow Ledger Manager, okay? Boom, allow Ledger Manager. And what happens in Ledger Live? All good, okay, guys? Boom. So the Ledger Nano X is genuine and ready to use, okay? Continue. And now we're in here, okay? It's gonna give you the terms of use, terms of service. Make sure you guys read through that, okay? So first step, best practice, is to check your guys' firmware, all right? If anyone who's watching this, I recommend you guys check your guys' firmware, okay? Check your guys' firmware. And our firmware is outdated, right? So what are we going to do? We're going to have to update the firmware. It's out. Let's update the firmware. While we update the firmware, it's going to take a minute here. I see a question from JGV Supreme. JGV Supreme, you are going to go to where I'm at right now, the My Ledger tab. Search up Recovery Check app, right? Basically what the Recovery Check app does is it's going to allow you to see if the recovery phrase you wrote down on this piece of paper, right? This piece of paper right here. Obviously, let me turn back on the lighting. Or turn off. This piece of paper right here does match your recovery phrase associated with your device, okay? JGV Supreme. So just search up Recovery Check app in the Ledger Live app, okay? So go back to Ledger Live. So now it's saying new firmware, confirm update. We're just going to go here. Confirm update. All right, guys. So just gonna update our firmware real quick. Cool. So just gonna take a minute here. As you guys can see, live. It's just gonna ask to put in our pin again. So we're just gonna do that. And I'll also show you guys how to receive and how to send as well. Okay, so firmware updated. Now our firmware is updated. Cool. So now the next step is you want to install some apps, okay? Apps are going to be required corresponding to the coin or network you're trying to interact on, okay? So what I mean by that is if you want a Bitcoin account, you will need the Bitcoin account or a Bitcoin app. Ethereum account, you will need the ETH app, okay? So let's just download, for video's sake, I'll just show you guys. Let's download Ethereum. Let's download Polygon and Bitcoin. Okay, so downloading the apps are going to be very simple. You're just going to head over to the My Ledger tab and download the apps. It's going to give you the firmware. But yeah, it's going to take a minute. See if we have any other questions in the chat. Let's see if we get any other questions. Brady's addressing it, so shout out to Brady. Cool. It's going to take a minute while it's installing, so we have a few installed. Then as soon as it's installed, we can add some other accounts. Okay, so boom. Installed. Now what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to add the accounts. Since this is a brand new ledger, right, guys, it's not going to have any funds on it. I do have a work ledger I'll plug in. I'll show you guys a very common error that you might run into if you don't have the correct recovery phrase associated with your device. So let's just add a few accounts, and I'll show you guys what I mean by that. Okay, let's add Polygon, or let's add Ethereum, and we're gonna have to open the app, right? Like I mentioned before, you will need the app installed on your device. Okay, just wait a minute here while the application is ready. In Ledger Live, this is what you'll see. Basically, what it's doing, it is syncing your accounts up with the blockchain. Love, yes, you can add entities or you can send entities. I'll show you how to do that here shortly. Okay, so now we have an Ethereum account, okay? Let's just rename this. Obviously, if you guys want to rename your account, just go to the wrench icon right here. We're going to name this Ethereum 1 stream. Now, we have that. Okay, so now let's plug in a another ledger that I have. Okay, so this other ledger I have is a work ledger, and you guys can see the difference here between the logos. Okay, obviously we had an old logo, right? But ever since then, Ledger's rebranded to a different logo. The device is going to work the same. For those of you guys who are OG Ledger users, you might have a Ledger device with this logo. No difference in terms of hardware. Okay, so let's plug it in. And let me enter the pin to get in the device. Pretty standard, okay, guys. Okay, so cool. Now let's go back to Ledger Live. And let's add the Ethereum account associated with this ledger, okay? I think it should have an NFT in here, so I can show you, Love, how to manage your NFTs in Ledger Live. Keep in mind, guys, Ledger Live is just a software. None of your assets are stored in Ledger Live. None of your assets are stored on the Ledger device itself, right? Everything is on the blockchain. Like I mentioned before, your private keys that are derived from your recovery phrase is what allows you to access those assets. Okay, so boom. Okay, now let's rename this account to Ethereum 1 Work Ledger. And before I get started, I just want to show you guys what happens when you don't have your correct recovery phrase and you try to access your accounts, right? Everything in Ledger Live is stored locally. So this account right here, this work ledger, if I lost my recovery phrase and my work ledger, I won't be able to access it. Let's say I try to access it with a new recovery phrase. Let's see what error it gives me, right? Let's use this, the test stream ledger as an example, right? When I go to receive, continue, let's see what error I get, okay? Check this out. Boom, it's going to give you this error, right? So if you ever get this error, what it means is the recovery phrase you have set up on your device does not match the recovery phrase that was set up to make this specific account, okay? As far as NFTs go, let me show you guys how NFTs will look. Love. NFTs will just look like this. All you have to do is get your Ethereum or whatever network your NFTs are on and send it directly to that address, okay? So I have a brick NFT, and it'll just look like this. You can see the NFT. It's going to take a minute here. Boom. All right. So it's just going to load directly into your account. Pretty standard there. Let me just maximize it. Okay, so it looks like it's a little frozen. The Ledger Live might be frozen. Okay, guys, so it is frozen. So I'm going to reopen Ledger Live. While I reopen Ledger Live, I'll be able to address questions you guys may have. Hopefully that answers your question, Love. So it's pretty standard, pretty simple. All you'll have to do is send your assets from your, let's say, MetaMask or Exchange directly into your Ledger ETH address, right? And you'll be able to see your assets directly through there. Okay. Let's switch back to Ledger Live. Okay, and obviously I have an update required too, right? So obviously I'm not going to update Ledger Live because it's going to take a little while, but I've added those two accounts. Now let's add Polygon so I can show you guys how to receive and send assets on your Ledger device, okay? So all you're going to do is you're going to go to Portfolio Type or Accounts tab and add your accounts. Now, on the device itself, just open the Polygon app, guys, and boom. No problem, Jay. Love, no problem. I'm also going to show you guys how to swap here in a minute as well. Obviously, this is a beginner stream, so it's more geared towards just answering any questions you guys may have. We do have a more intermediate stream coming in the near future, so stay tuned for that. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel and turn on the post notification bell. Okay. So now what happens is we have a few Polygon accounts, right? These Polygon accounts are correspondent to this recovery phrase. So how do I send assets from a Ledger account? Okay, so let's just for video example, let's move. Let me do this so you guys can have a better view. Okay, and then minimize this. Minimize this. Okay, so let's move Polygon 1 to Polygon 2. Okay, so if we want to move assets from Polygon 1 to Polygon 2, we're gonna have to get the Polygon 2 address. We're gonna go to Polygon 2 and click the C. Make sure you guys have the Polygon app open on the device. It's gonna ask you guys to verify your address. Make sure you guys always do this step. This step's very important. It's gonna say verify address, as you guys can see. Now Ledger Live is gonna give you the address. What I like to look for is first 5 0xEFF72C7E. Now let's see if that matches on the device. The good thing about a ledger is anything that the ledger display is what's happening, right? Nothing can be altered on the ledger device itself, whereas a computer, the messages can be altered through malware, okay? So 0xEFF, right? 72C7E, that looks pretty good to me. We're gonna approve the message. And in Ledger Live, this is what you'll get. Let me just copy the address again because I don't think I did. So obviously, I verified that was legit or was correct. Approve. Now we're gonna go to Polygon 1. The reason why I'm doing Polygon, guys, is obviously for gas fees, right? Gas fees are very cheap on here. Cost a few cents. Boom. Okay. And if you guys ever have issues with sending transactions saying insufficient amount or any error message, make sure you guys go to advanced and make sure you guys have the correct gas limit set. It should always be 21,000 minimum. And then standard, when this tab right here, standard, this is just Ledger Live estimating how much gas is costing at the moment. Okay, we're just gonna do medium. We're gonna send 5 or 3 Matic. Continue. And whenever you guys send transaction, guys, Ledger does not take anything, right? All these transactions are performed on chain, meaning that this is what the network is asking for to validate the transaction, okay? So once again, we're just gonna approve. Go back here, it's gonna say accept and send. It's gonna prompt you amount, we're sending 3, correct? To this address, like I mentioned, 0xEFF72C7E. The fees, accept and send, and boom. Now the transaction is being broadcasted on the blockchain. Boom. Okay, so that's basically in terms of sending and receiving and how to view NFTs. It's pretty simple, right? All you got to do is send your NFTs to your Ethereum or Polygon address. For NFTs that aren't supported in Ledger Live, you will have to use a third-party wallet solution. Another important feature or important app that will allow you to view NFTs is Rainbow Me. All right, guys, so check that out. Now, the last thing I want to show you guys in Ledger Live is swapping directly through a DEX, meaning a decentralized exchange. What a DEX is you won't have to go through KYC, right? It's very on-chain. The process is going to be very simple. Let me show you guys how to do that here. So for today's example, we will swap some Matic to USDC, okay? So let's switch the account to Polygon 2. Obviously, I'm Polygon 2 right here, Polygon 2. I have more Matic on here. So I'll swap 3 Matic for USDC. Actually, yeah, let's do that. That'll be simple. This is the DEX aggregator. Basically, what this means is Paraswap's going to filter out the best rates across all the DEXs in the crypto space, and it seems like Uniswap has the best rate. Okay, so let's perform the swap. All we have to do, put in your amount, put in what you want to swap to. It has, of course, various tokens, right? Swap rates are going to be very dependent on liquidity. Obviously, the more liquidity it has, the less you're going to experience slippage. What slippage is basically the rate that in which you swap. So let's say I swap 3 Matic for, oh, no liquidity. Why does it say no liquidity here? Okay, it just took a minute. So let's just say right here, right? It's basically price impact, right? Since there's so much liquidity between these pairs, there's going to be basically no price impact to where, let's say, I swap for a random token, any swap. See, you can see there's going to be a price impact, right? The less liquidity a pair has, the more price impact you're going to face, right? Basically, it's going to be a spread. Let's say, I'll just use a most simple example. Let's say you want to swap one. Let's say you want to swap one USDC for one USDT, and the pair is very or has very low liquidity. You're probably gonna get probably 0.09 USDT, right? Basically, that's what it means. Okay. So let's go back to swapping Matic, or let's swap Matic for USDC. And this is for people that want to hold stable coins, right? Let's say you don't want to move your assets exchange to cash out. You can swap directly through a DEX if it's certain coins such as Polygon, BSC, and Ethereum. Okay, so let's just swap to Matic, confirm order. And what's going to do, it's going to prompt you on the device. Let me show you guys that here. Just going to take a minute here. Allow Ledger Manager. And we will open the Paraswap app. And if you guys don't have the Paraswap app, download it. It'll require you to download the app. Okay. Review transaction. Right, as you guys can see here, this is what's happening. Then it's Paraswap swap. Send Matic 2. You're gonna receive this much USDC. Network fees, accept and send. Boom. And now what happens is the transaction is submitted on the blockchain. Pretty simple, guys. That's basically how swaps go. Obviously, if you want to swap other coins, you'll go to the swap tab. This is going to prompt you to an exchange, right? Just FYI. But yeah, receive, you go here, pick the coin or account you want to receive to. Discover tab. Make sure you guys check this out. We have a bunch of things in here. You guys have any questions, feel free to leave it in the chat. Accounts, this is basically all the accounts you have. You have the discrete mode at the top right here, where you can hide your crypto. You also have the market. This is basically like CoinGecko, CoinMarketCap. It's going to give you an overview, broad overview on how the market's performing. Looks like the market is doing, it is green in the last 24 hours, which is good. Portfolio, this is going to show your whole entire portfolio and how it's performing. Settings, this is a very good tab that you should periodically check up on and periodically clear your cache. Basically, this feature right here, you're going to go to settings, help clear cache. This feature is going to allow you to resync your accounts up with the blockchain. This is what you should do if you haven't touched Ledger Live in a while. It's going to just, pretty standard, give you Ledger Live version. I am outdated. I'll update my Ledger Live after the stream. Accounts, you can export your accounts for tax purposes or what it may be. General, you can change a theme to dark light. You can also put a password lock on for those people who have kids. You want to put a lock on just because your kids, use your computer, and you don't want them clicking on Ledger Live and doing anything weird. But yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of Ledger Live. Just a basic onboarding setups, very very standard, very simple to use. CL card. This is it's our partnership with banks basically. Lets you allow to spend your crypto in the real world. Pretty cool there. Yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. If you guys have any questions, we have 20 minutes left. I'll be able to address your guys' question. But yeah, I'm just here for you guys. We have a few people asking questions. Let's see. Let's see. Um, Da Silva, did you fix a problem with the battery? The battery's not charging. The battery cannot charge. Air Da Silva is actually an issue with the device itself. Your device may still be able to function, but the best practice I recommend you do is what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to unplug the device, let the device drain, re-plug it in, and then let it charge for about 6 to 12 hours. If you're still getting an issue, Da Silva, please reach out to us. If you're under the 2-year warranty, we'll be able to replace your device for free, okay? And I'll show you guys how to submit a ticket. If you guys have any, support questions, right? Questions that are more complex and information you don't want to share in the stream, okay? So you're gonna want to go to ledger.com, support, and you're gonna want to go directly down here, contact us. We don't have live chat yet, but I believe we may have live chat coming in within the next few weeks, so you guys can chat with an agent that will be able to answer your guys' question, right? So that's pretty much it. You're gonna want to go to contact us, new conversation, fill in the categories corresponding to problems you're having, and you will be addressed or you will be assigned to the agent suited for your situation or case or issue, right? So pretty much it. But yeah, the Ledger Live update, Da Silva will not fix that issue, okay? See what else we have here. Drew. Yeah, Drew. So it seems like Brady's addressing your question. I'll just show you one more time, Drew. It seems like here. I just want to address this one more time for even the viewers in the chat, right? So I have multiple account here, guys, right? All these accounts are going to be stored locally. If I have the wrong recovery phrase, let's just say for, so early in the stream, right? I had these both have two different recovery phrases. These both derive a whole set of different accounts, right? Now, if we go in Ledger Live, let's say I try to access this account, right? And I go to, let's see, it's gonna take a minute. Being a little delayed here. Being a little delayed. Okay, so Ledger Live is being a little buggy. Maybe that could be a telltale sign for me to upgrade or update my version. Let me just restart Ledger Live real quick. Again, let me show the chat something. This is a very important concept to understand. Okay, let's go back to here. Okay, so test stream. Now let's click receive. I will have to unlock my Ledger device. All my accounts are stored locally. So if I don't have the correct recovery phrase, guys, I will not be able to access the account. This is the message I'll get. Okay. Open the app. And that's why I just want to address that. It's very important to understand what recovery phrase belongs to what accounts. Okay. So as you guys can see here, boom. Getting this error. Why am I getting this error? Is because I don't have the correct recovery phrase. Okay. So make sure the recovery phrase you guys have written down or you wrote down is correspondent to your device, okay? And this goes for the people who have multiple recovery phrases, multiple devices, okay? But yeah, guys, see what other questions we have here. See, I'm gonna look if there's any questions on Twitter that I can address. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Very good stream, very simple. Hopefully you guys learn how best practice on keeping your assets safe. Can I use my seed phrase to import accounts to another hardware wallet? Not just Ledger. Yes, you can, Karen. Yes, you can, as long as it supports BIP39. That's basically the standard that's used across the crypto space. So yes, you can. Hey Drew, so all your accounts are going to be corresponding to your recovery phrase. So what do you mean by you can't see your Nano X account info? Like, are you meaning like the accounts, like you're not seeing these accounts right here? These accounts, all you have to do is click add accounts, right? The Nano S, if you imported your recovery phrase from your Nano S to your Nano X, the accounts are going to be the same, right? The point of a ledger, all it does is to generate your recovery phrase offline and store your private keys, right? All your accounts are going to be on the blockchain, right? What you see in Ledger Live is just local, right? It doesn't mean, how do I phrase this in simple terms? What you see in Ledger Live does not mean those accounts are going to be corresponded to your Nano X, right? So if you generate a brand new recovery phrase, I don't know if you did, you generate a brand new recovery phrase, right? You're going to be able to access a whole new set of accounts, right? So I just need clarification of what you mean by old S account info. Because if you switch to Nano X, you'll see the same accounts if you're using the same recovery phrase, okay? You're not going to see new accounts. If you want to add a new account, you're more than welcome to by just going to the accounts tab, plus add account, boom. Okay, so let's see here. Do we have any more questions? If we don't have any more questions in the next 5 minutes, I will close out the stream. On Ledger Live, when I log in, I see my on Ledger Live, when I log in, I see my S info. So I did something wrong when adding the X. Gotcha. Yeah, I hope I clarified it for you, Drew. Basically, what I'm saying, Drew, is you can access the same accounts on both devices. Okay, so I don't have my backup, but I have a backup Nano S Plus, and all those accounts from the Nano S Plus can be accessed with the Nano X. Right, it's basically a backup device. I do not have a PC and do not have someone to. Now I can't add ETH until I update. Yeah, if you have an Android device, you can definitely update your firmware. If you yeah, if you have an Android device, you will be able to update firmware. Obviously, with iOS or Apple, you'll need the Nano X. Karen, can we use two seed phrases with the same device? Yes, Karen, you can. You just can't use that at the same time. And what I mean by that, Karen, I'll just show you right here because I like to give you guys visuals. Okay, so let me plug this in. So let's say I have two recovery phrases, right, Karen? So the recovery phrase I have on this device right now is one recovery phrase, right? If I want to access another, why am I on here? Okay. If I want to access another set of accounts, all I'll have to do, right? Let me go quit, is hold both buttons, go to settings, security, reset device. Hopefully you can see that. So once again, let me go slow. I think I went a little too fast. Hold both buttons. This will prompt you to the control center. You're going to want to go to settings, security, reset device, reset device. Let's put in the pin. Okay. And then boom, it just reset the device. And then you're going to click restore from recovery phrase. And you're going to put in your recovery phrase or your account that you're trying to access. If you're trying to generate a brand new recovery phrase for whatever reason, you're just going to select this option. So that's pretty much it, Karen. Soldier, Did you talk about the Flare network just showed up? No, I have not. No, I have not. See any other questions we have? But yeah, I hope you guys have a great weekend. I know it's a new year, right? The new year's pretty slow for a lot of you guys. But I hope you guys start off right. I hope you guys have a great, no problem, Karen. I hope you have a great one. If you have any more questions, feel free to leave it in the chat. I have these streams every Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern time. I'll have a more intermediate stream focus on explaining more intermediate concepts in the near future. Any associated risk exposure with wire ace frankly? I don't believe so. I know Wire shut down, right? They basically shut down. And that's just another crypto player in the space shutting down for whatever reason. I think it was because they couldn't get a partnership or a deal set in place. But yeah, you shouldn't have any issues with risk. There should be no risk. The only risk I could say is probably maybe your personal information, but for the most part, in terms of your assets, your recovery phrase, there will be no risk there. I can't say, I'm not too sure. You'll have to reach out to them. But as far as I'm aware, right, they're just shutting down. They didn't get breached or they didn't get hacked or anything, so they're just shutting down. So I'm sure all the information. Yep. Exactly. All your information is gonna get wiped out. Okay. Cool, guys. Soldier Flare will release on Monday. I'm not too sure on that, Soldier. Flare, let me take a look for you. Flare network. Let's see. Okay, so it looks like Flare is an EVM. If Flare's an EVM, Soldier, you can just use MetaMask in the meantime. I'm not sure when Flare will be supporting Ledger Live. I hope so soon in the future, just for your easeability and your convenience. But it seems like Flare is EVM compatible, so you'll be able to use MetaMask just fine. Okay. Cool. So I'll stay here for another 2 minutes, guys. After 2 minutes, I'll wrap up the stream. Make sure you guys like the video. Really appreciate it. I'm here for you guys, here to educate you guys, here to answer any questions you guys may have. It was a great stream today. Very simple, very easy, very chill. But yeah, we do have Twitter Spaces every week, led by Brady at 2 p.m. or 4 p.m. Pacific on Tuesday. So if you guys want to come in and ask us questions, feel free to do that. 2 p.m. Or let me show you guys another best practice. 4 p.m. Excuse me. A best practice is, let me just bring this up. Best practice is, okay, when you guys are getting support or asking anybody questions, it should always be from a gold check mark ledger. Okay, people can pay for blue check marks. So if it's a gold check mark, then you know it's a business. It's verified. Can't pay for it. So keep that in mind. Gold check mark, guys, right? Be aware of Twitter scams. There's always going to be Twitter scams on Twitter, right? No pun intended. But yeah, guys, it was a great stream. I hope everyone has a great day. Let's see if there's any last minute questions. Yes. Perfect. Yeah, so that basically wraps it up, guys. I'll see you guys next week. Feel free to leave comments if you guys have any questions, and reach out to us if you guys have any questions. All right. You guys take care, and I'll see you guys next week. All right. Take care. Peace.